Quantum jumping. When I first heard about it, I thought it was complete nonsense, pseudoscience for people who don't understand actual quantum physics. But I kept seeing it mentioned. People claiming they'd shifted their entire reality using this technique. So I decided to test it myself. 21 days, one practice per day, documented everything. And I'm going to be completely honest with you about what happened, because some of it sounds too strange to be true. But it happened. In this video, I'm going to explain what quantum jumping actually is, the exact technique I used, and my results week by week. And at the end, I'll walk you through how to try this yourself if you want to. But first, a warning. This is not for everyone. If you have any history of dissociation, depersonalization, or certain mental health conditions, do not try this. This practice involves deliberately shifting your consciousness in ways that can be disorienting. You need to be grounded and stable to do this safely. Okay, let's start with what quantum jumping actually is. Quantum jumping is based on the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. This is actual physics, not New Age spirituality. The many worlds interpretation says that every possible outcome of every decision exists in a parallel universe. Every choice creates a branching point, a new timeline, a new version of you. So right now, there are infinite versions of you living infinite different lives. There's a version of you who made different choices, who has different beliefs, who created different results. There's a version of you who's already living the life you want. Quantum jumping is the practice of accessing that parallel version of yourself, not physically traveling to another dimension, but connecting with the consciousness, the energy, the decisions of that version, and bringing that information back to shift your current reality. Now, I know how this sounds, and I'm not claiming I understand all the physics involved, but here's what I do know. Consciousness is not local. It's not confined to your physical brain. Quantum physics has shown that observation affects reality, that consciousness and matter are interconnected in ways we're still trying to understand. So the question isn't, is this real or fake? The question is, does this technique produce results? And for me, it did. Here's why I decided to try this. I'd been stuck in a pattern, same thoughts, same behaviors, same results. I'd done all the traditional personal development work, affirmations, visualization, goal setting, and while those things helped, I felt like I'd hit a ceiling. I realized that I was trying to create new results from the same consciousness, the same version of me. And Einstein said you can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So I needed to access a different level, a different version of me who'd already solved these problems. That's what quantum jumping claimed to do. So I committed to 21 days, one session per day, same time, same technique, document everything. Let me walk you through the exact technique I used. I would sit in a quiet space, close my eyes, and do about 5 minutes of breath work to get into a relaxed, meditative state. This is important. You can't quantum jump from your normal beta brainwave state. You need to get into alpha or theta, so I'd breathe slowly until I felt that shift, that quieting of the mental chatter. Then I would visualize myself standing in front of a door. Behind that door is a parallel universe, a timeline where a version of me has already achieved what I want to achieve. Already is who I want to become. I'd spend a moment setting the intention. I'm connecting with the version of me who has already solved this. Then I'd open the door and step through. And I'd visualize meeting that version of myself. What do they look like? How do they carry themselves? What's their energy like? I wouldn't just observe them. I would have a conversation. I would ask questions. How did you get here? What did you believe that I don't believe yet? What choice did you make that I haven't made? What do I need to know? And then I would listen, not with my logical mind, with my intuitive mind, and answers would come, sometimes as words, sometimes as images, sometimes as just a knowing. After the conversation, here's the key part. I would merge with that version. I would visualize stepping into their body, feeling what they feel, seeing through their eyes, thinking their thoughts, and I would stay in that merged state for a few minutes, just experiencing what it's like to be them. Then I would step back through the door, bringing that energy with me, and I would immediately write down anything that came through, any insights, any guidance, any action steps. That was the technique. About 15 to 20 minutes total, every single day for 21 days. Now let me tell you what happened. Week 1 was subtle. Days 1 through 7, I honestly wasn't sure if anything was happening. The meditations felt nice. I was getting some interesting insights, but my external reality looked the same. The main thing I noticed in week 1 was my internal dialogue changing. I started catching thoughts that didn't feel like mine, more confident thoughts, more certain thoughts, like, of course this will work, instead of, I hope this works. Small shift, but noticeable. I also noticed I was making slightly different choices. Small things, like I'd normally scroll social media in the morning, but instead I found myself doing something productive. I didn't force it. It just felt natural, like that's what the quantum jumped version of me would do. By the end of week 1, I was definitely feeling something, but I wasn't convinced yet. Week 2 is when things got weird. Days 8 through 14, reality started shifting in ways I couldn't explain as coincidence. First, opportunities started appearing that hadn't been there before. I got an unexpected message from someone I hadn't talked to in years, offering exactly the kind of collaboration I'd been wanting. I randomly came across information that solved a problem I'd been struggling with for months. My relationships started shifting. People were responding to me differently, more respectfully, more openly, like they were picking up on a different energy from me. And here's the strangest part. I started having dreams about this parallel version of myself, vivid dreams where I was living their life, making their decisions, feeling their emotions. I'd wake up and the line between me and them felt blurred. I also started experiencing moments of what I can only describe as timeline bleed through. I'd have memories of things that didn't happen in my timeline, or I'd feel nostalgic for a life I never lived. It was disorienting. This is why I say you need to be grounded to do this practice. But alongside the disorientation, there was expansion. I felt more capable, more certain, more like the version of me I'd been connecting with. By the end of week 2, I was convinced something real was happening. But I still had questions. Week 3 was the breakthrough. Days 15 through 21, my external reality caught up with my internal shift. I made a decision I'd been avoiding for months. And it was the right decision. I knew it was right because the quantum jumped version of me had already made it. I wasn't guessing. I was following a path that already existed in another timeline. Money showed up. Not a huge amount, but unexpected. From a source I hadn't anticipated, and it came at the exact moment I needed it. A situation that had been stressing me out for weeks suddenly resolved itself. I didn't force it. I didn't push. I just held the energy of the version of me for whom this wasn't a problem, and it stopped being a problem. My confidence wasn't forced anymore. It was natural, because I wasn't trying to become someone. I was accessing someone I already am in another timeline. By day 21, I looked back at day 1 and barely recognized that version of myself. Same body, same circumstances, but completely different consciousness. Now, I want to be really clear about something. I don't think quantum jumping magically changed my reality. I think it changed my consciousness, and my consciousness creates my reality. When I accessed the version of me who'd already succeeded, I didn't just get information. I got their neural patterns, their beliefs, their energy, and when I started operating from that place, my actions changed, my decisions changed, and therefore my results changed. Is that actual quantum jumping between parallel universes, or is it a powerful psychological technique that accesses different parts of my own consciousness? Honestly, I don't know. And I don't think it matters, because it works. So if you want to try this yourself, here's what I recommend. First, get clear on what version of you want to access. Don't be vague. The version of me who's happy isn't specific enough. The version of me who's built a successful business and feels fulfilled is better. Specificity creates focus. Second, commit to at least 21 days. This is not a one-time thing. This is training your consciousness to access different timelines. That takes repetition. Third, ground yourself before and after each session. Touch the ground, drink water, move your body. You're deliberately shifting your consciousness. You need to come back and anchor in this timeline. Fourth, document everything. Write down your insights immediately after each session. Track any synchronicities or shifts you notice. This practice works subtly. If you don't document, you'll miss the patterns. And fifth, take action on the guidance you receive. This isn't just a meditation practice. The quantum jumped version of you is giving you a roadmap. Follow it. Make the choices they made. Take the actions they took. That's how you collapse the timelines. Now, should you try this? I don't know. That's for you to decide. But here's what I will say. If you're stuck in a pattern and traditional methods aren't working, this might be worth exploring. If you're curious about consciousness and willing to experiment, this could expand your understanding of reality. But if you're looking for a quick fix or magic solution, this isn't it. This is deep work. This is consciousness work, and it requires commitment. I'm going to continue practicing quantum jumping. Not every day anymore, but whenever I feel stuck or need guidance. Because I now know that there's a version of me who's already figured out what I'm struggling with. And I can access that version anytime I want. That's incredibly empowering. If you decide to try this, leave a comment and let me know. Document your experience and come back in 21 days and tell me what happened. I'm genuinely curious to hear other people's results. And if you want more content like this, where I actually test these techniques and report back honestly, subscribe to this channel. I'm exploring consciousness, manifestation, and transformation from a place of curiosity and experimentation. Not dogma, not blind belief, just testing and sharing what works. Remember, you are not limited to this one version of yourself. There are infinite versions of you living infinite different lives, and you have the ability to access them. The question is, which version do you want to connect with? Choose wisely and then jump.